Recording in progress.
All praises, all praises. Welcome back to Mataya Hawadah, the spirits, the waters, and the blood. I'm your favorite Hebrew host, Wayne. Thank you. Here to enlighten you and to give you a little bit of share edification or education or whatever information that I might come, especially spiritual awakeness. Most definitely coming back to the Father, Yahweh. All praises coming back to the Father, Yahweh, Bahashem, Hamashiach, Yahweh. So I'm going to start this one off with the prayer of the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad, Ve'havta et Yahweh Eloheicha b'chol lavavka, b'chol neshech, b'chol mehodecha. Deuteronomy 6, verses 4 and 5. All right, so with that being said, Tawada Abram Yahweh for giving me the opportunity to address Mishpacha, my family, on this glorious, holy Sabbath, first day of the month event that we have here. Today is the Feast of Trumpets. It later received the name from the Jewish individuals that is Rosh Hashanah, but we'll go into that. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this. Most definitely all praises. And if you have any love for the Father, if you have any love for me, please take the time out to like, share, subscribe to the channel so that way, and hit the bell notification so that way whenever I release new content, you'll be the first one to receive it. If I don't get shadow banned, which which normally happens. But anyway, please take the time out to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification. All right, so with that being said, we're going to go straight into the topic of Rosh Hashanah or Rosh Hashanah. All right, do I want to? I'll go. All right. And also what's known as the Feast of Trumpets. I'm going to bring this down a little bit. And then let's blow this up. Okay. Rosh Hashanah. All right, the history of Rosh Hashanah. From the Torah to the temple. By my Jewish learning. So, I'm going to go to the Jews to learn about the Jews like now. But anyway, we should go to Scripture. Scripture says it all. Let's move me down. I can see it a little bit. Well, it's more comfortable for me to read. Okay, all right. Torah refers to the first day of the month. First day of the 7th month. Hold on. Torah references to the first day of the 7th month. In Leviticus, the first day of the 7th month is described as follows. In the 7th month, on the first day of the month, ye shall observe complete rest. A sacred occasion commemorated with loud blast. Hear that? Okay. In the seventh month, on the first day of the month, ye shall observe complete rest, a sacred occasion commemorated with loud blast. You shall not work at your occupations, and you shall bring an offering by fire to Yahweh. Leviticus chapter 23 verses 24 through 25. In Numbers we read, in the seventh month, on the first day of the month, you shall observe a sacred occasion. In the seventh month, on the first day of the month, you shall observe a sacred occasion. You shall not work at your occupations. You shall observe it as a day when a horn is sounded. You shall present a burnt offering of pleasing odor to Yahweh. Numbers chapter 29 verses 1 and 2. The sacred number 7 seems critical here, just as the seventh day of the week is holy, the Sabbath. So the seventh month of the year has special significance. Since each new moon is a sacred time, since each new moon is a sacred time, it is logical that the seventh new moon, counting the month of Nisan in the spring, which is the first day of the month, first day of the year, Nisan in the spring, should also acquire a special aura of holiness. The special sacredness is commemorated by the sounding of the shofar. Now, hold on, let me show you what that is. Now, this is the shofar, a ram's horn. And you blow this. They blast from the shofar. Okay, the blowing of the shofar. All right. That special sacredness is commemorated by the sounding of the shofar, the ram's horn. Aside from sacrifice, this is the only specific action mandated for this day in the Torah. Aside from sacrifice, this is the only specific action mandated for this day in the Torah. Sounding the shofar is mentioned in both sets of verses, although no explanation or reason is offered. Taken together, the three elements of these verses, the lack of a name for the holiday, of a reason for the celebration, and of an explanation for sounding the shofar, poses a puzzle for us. Why doesn't the Torah describe or emphasize this holy day any further? Many scholars have suggested that the first day of the seventh month was popularly celebrated in ancient Israel as a divine coronation day. The time of Elohai's assumption of the kingship and the beginning of a new cycle of the year. There were two celebrations of a new annual cycle in ancient Israel. One is the spring month of Aviv, later called Nisan, the, the first of the months of the year. Nisan, Passover. Nisan for the first of the months of the year. In Exodus 12, verse 2. And another in the fall at the return of the year. Exodus 23, 16, 34, 22. The spring celebration was more cultic in nature, being connected to the cycle of sacred festivals and the reign of kings, while that of the fall emphasizes the agricultural cycle. The suggestions that a New Year's festival was held in ancient Israel on the first day of the seventh month is based upon an analogy to Babylonian rites. Two separate New Year celebrations were held in Babylon as well, and upon allusion to such a commemoration found in the Psalms. As Moshe Siegel points out, three principles: the creation of the world on the new year, the manifestation of Elohai's kingship over the world on the new year, and the judgment of the world by Elohai on the new year, are already proclaimed together in a series of liturgical psalms that form a distinct group marked by a close affinity of tone, of language, and of thought. These are the joyous and triumphant songs contained in Psalms 95 through 100, to which belong also Psalms 93. The first part of Psalms 94, the constantly recurring thoughts in these beautiful songs are Elohai as creator, Elohai as king, Elohai as judge, the religion of Israel before Sinai, Jewish Quarterly Review. This is the book that particular author wrote. The still unnamed holiday in the book of Psalms and prophets. Several of these allude to one commandment specifically connected to this day, the sounding of the shofar. The sounding of the shofar. The Teruah, one of the sounds of the shofar, is referred to in Psalms 95, verse 1, and so forth, and should be differentiated from another sound mentioned in the Bible in connection to other holy days, the tekiah, the sound of the trumpet. In these particular songs, the shofar sound is a joyous proclamation of Elohai's ascendancy to the kingship and has none of the other connotations it received in later Jewish thought. Another scholar, Baruch Levine, offers a different suggestion that the day was commemorated by blasting the shofar in order to announce that the festival of Shachar was to commence 2 weeks later. And this is this person's book. Although the Bible had not yet conferred a title on Rosh Hashanah, literally the beginning or head of the year, and although it had not yet connected that holiday to Yom Kippur, it is nonetheless conceivable that the first of Tishir was thought of, even in early times, as a time of cosmic judgment, when the destiny of the world was fixed. Why then this reticence on the part of the Torah to ascribe all these meanings more explicitly to the first day of the seventh month? Perhaps the pagan connotations of this day were still too strong. After all, the Babylonian celebration centered upon struggles between Elohai, or gods, and demons for dominance, and was characterized by the use of magic and incantations. Nothing of paganism remains, however, in the Psalms. Mosaic monotheism had already transformed this day completely into the prototype of Rosh Hashanah, as we know it today. It is these Psalms we indeed intend to recite, or recitation, on the first day of the seventh month. Then, even at this early date, the Israelites' New Year festival celebrated Yahweh as the sole creator of the world, who on this day ascended the throne and ruled over all creation. The holiday was intended, at least in part, to acknowledge Elohai by the people of Israel, as righteous judge who dispenses justice for all humankind. The first day of the seventh month is mentioned in the book of Nehemiah as a holy day upon which an important event took place in the year 444 or 444 BCE. When the seventh month arrived, the Israelites began settling in their own towns. The entire people assembled as one man in the square before the water gate, and they asked Ezra, the scribe, to bring the scroll of the teachings of Moses, or Moshe, with which Yahweh had charged Israel. On the first day of the seventh month, Ezra the priest brought the teachings before the congregation, men and women, and all who could listen with understanding. He read from it, facing the square before the water gate, from the first light until midday. Nehemiah chapter 8, verses 1 through 3. At this impressive gathering, the people of Israel renewed their covenant with Elohai and accepted the Torah as their basic law. The people wept when they realized how far they had strayed from the teachings that were in the Torah. But they were admonished. They were admonished not to mourn, because this day is holy to Yahweh Eloheinu. In Nehemiah chapter 8, verse 9. The holiness of the first day of the seventh month, made plain in this biblical narrative, may constitute the reason that it was chosen for this ceremony of reading and accepting the law. At the same time, the Bible does not describe any specific New Year custom observed on that day, other than the blowing of the shofar. Philo of Alexandria, the first century BCE Jewish philosopher, described the first day of the seventh month as a great trumpet feast, and connects it with the sounding of the horn at Mount Sinai when revelation took place. He also interprets that the trumpet as an instrument and symbol of war. Therefore, the law instituted this feast figured by the instrument of war, the trumpet, which gives its name. to be as a thank offering to Elohim, the peacemaker and peacekeeper who destroys faction, both in cities and in the various parts of the universe, and creates plenty of fertile and abundance of other good things. That's Philo's special law. If Philo accurately represents the general understanding prevalent in his day, rather than an interpretation particular to him or to the Alexandrian community where he lived, then clearly the first day of the seventh month was not celebrated at that time as the new year. Salati. If we were to assume that the new year was popularly celebrated during the first temple period, we must conclude that this tradition was forgotten during the exile and not renewed until later. Gotta do that. The exile and not renewed until later. It was forgotten during the exile and not renewed until later. Of greatest importance, however, the information given in the Mishnah, okay, let's pause right there. The Mishnah is part of the Talmud. You have the Mishnah, the Gemara, and the Talmudic writings, and they all composed of one Talmudic evil book that tells you, I won't go into what it says, but it says some vile stuff. All right. To the Mishnah, all right. Of great importance, however, is the information given in the Mishnah. Of greatest importance, okay, about the rule of judgment on the first day of Tishir, now designated simply Rosh Hashanah. They changed it. On Rosh Hashanah, all human beings pass before him as troops, as it is said. The Yahweh looks down from heaven. He sees all mankind from his dwelling place. He gazes on all the inhabitants of the earth. He who fashions the hearts of them all, who discerns all their doings. Psalms chapter 33, verse 13 and 15, or through 15. And then you find that in the Mishnah, Rosh Hashanah 1.2. Okay. So then they also go into, they eat apples dipped in honey and nuts with honey on them, but we're gonna go straight to scripture and see how valid that is. All right, so let's go here. Like I said, this is a very important day. All right, we have Numbers 10:10, and I'm in the parallel study Bible, and that way you can see the Hebrew writing on the right hand side, and then the English on the left, or the translated English on the right hand side. Left hand side. So now Numbers 10:10, we're going to go right here. Numbers 10:10. And on your joyous occasions, your appointed feast, and beginning of each month, you are to blow the trumpet over your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, and they will serve as a reminder for you before Elohim. I am Yahweh Elohim. I am Yahweh Elohim. Eloheinu, or Elohaicha. Set off the Eloheinu. No, that's Elohai. Yeah, Elohaicha. Or Elohaicham. Mem Elohim. Yahweh Elohim. All right, now it goes on with a little bit more. On the 11th day of the second month. All right, so that's going on to the 11th day of the second month. But we're going to stay right here and on your joyous occasions, your appointed feast, and the beginning of each month. The beginning of each month. And the beginning of each month, you are to blow the trumpet over your burnt offerings and fellowship offerings, that they will serve as a reminder for you before Elohim or Elohim. I am Yahweh Elohim or Elohim. So we're going to go here. All right, so where do I want to start? Let's go here. 23. All right, 23. Then Yahweh also said to Moshe, speak to the children of Israel, or speak to the Israelites, and say, on the first day, speak to the Israelites and say, on the first day of the 7th month, you are to have a day of rest, a sacred assembly announced by trumpet blast. You must not do any ordinary work. You must not do any ordinary work, but you are to present an offering made by fire to Yahweh. Again, Yahweh said to Moshe, the 10th day of the 7th month is the day of atonement. You are to hold a sacred assembly and humble your souls and present an offering made by fire to Yahweh. And Yahweh, like I said, I'm taking my time with this. And again, Yahweh said to Moshe, the 10th day of the 7th month is a day of atonement. You are to hold a sacred assembly and humble your souls and present an offering made by fire to Yahweh. Yahweh. On this day you are not to do any work, for it is the day of atonement, when atonement is made for you before Yahweh Elohim or Elohim. If anyone does not humble himself on this day, he must be cut off from his people. I will destroy from among his people anyone who does any work on this day. You are not to do any work at all. This is a permanent statute for you, or for this is another powerful. I will destroy from among his people anyone who does any work on this day. You are not to do any work at all. This is a permanent statute for the generations to come, wherever you live. This is a permanent statute for the generations to come, wherever you live. It will be a Sabbath of complete rest for you, and you shall humble your souls from the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening. You are to observe your Sabbaths. And Moshe and Yahweh said to Moshe, speak to the Israelites, say that on the 15th day of the 7th month, the Feast of Tabernacles to Yahweh begins, and it continues for 7 days. On the first day, there shall be a sacred assembly. You are not to do any regular work. For 7 days you are to present an offering made by fire to Yahweh. On the 8th day you are to hold a sacred assembly and present an offering made by fire to Yahweh. It is a solemn assembly. You are not to do any regular work. For 7 days you are to present an offering made by fire to Yahweh. On the 8th day you are to hold a sacred assembly and present an offering made by fire to Yahweh. It is a solemn assembly. You are not to do any regular work. These are Yahweh's appointed feasts, which are to proclaim as sacred assemblies for presenting offerings by fire to Yahweh, burnt offerings and grain offerings, sacrifices and drink offerings, each on its designated day and appointed seasons. These offerings are in addition to the offerings for Yahweh's Sabbaths. These offerings are in addition to the offerings for Yahweh's Sabbaths, and in addition to your gifts, to all your vow offerings, to all the free will offerings you give to Yahweh. On the 15th day of the 7th month, after you have gathered the produce of the land, you are to celebrate a feast to Yahweh for 7 days. These shall be complete. Rest on the first day and also on the 8th day. On the first day, you are to gather the branches of majestic trees, palm branches, and boughs of leafy trees, and willows of the brook, and rejoice before Yahweh your Elohim for 7 days. You are to celebrate this as a feast to Yahweh for 7 days each year. This is a permanent statute for the generations. You are to celebrate this as a feast to Yahweh for 7 days each year. This is a permanent statute for the generations to come. You are to celebrate it in the 7th month. You are to live in booths for 7 days. All the native born of Israel must live in booths. If you live in Israel, you must live in booths, the native born Israelites. So that your descendants will know that I made the Israelites live in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahweh Elohim. So Moses announced to the children, or to the Israelites, the appointed feast of Yahweh. For the generations to come. Interesting. Now we're going to go to Numbers 29, verse 1. On the first day of the 7th month, you are to hold a sacred assembly, and you must not do any regular work. This will be a day for you to sound the trumpets. On the first day of the 7th month, you are to hold a sacred assembly, and you must not do any regular work. This will be a day for you to sound the trumpets. As a pleasing aroma to Yahweh, you are to present a burnt offering of one young bull, one ram, and 7 male lambs, and a year old, or a year old, all unblemished, along with the grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah, with the bull, 2/10 of an ephah, with the ram, and 1/10 of an ephah with each of the 7 male lambs. Include one male goat as a sin offering, which we don't have to do because we believe in the Hamashiach Yahushua and that he did die for our sins and was resurrected by the Father. These are in addition to the monthly and daily burnt offerings with their prescribed grain offerings and drink offerings. They are a pleasing aroma and offering made by fire to Yahweh. Yahweh. On the 10th day of the 7th month, you are to hold a sacred assembly. On the 10th day of the 7th month, you are to hold a sacred assembly, and you shall humble yourselves. You must not do any work. Present as a pleasing as a pleasing aroma to Yahweh, a burnt offering of one bull, one ram, and 7 male lambs, a year old, all unblemished, along with their grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah with the bull, 2/10 of an ephah with the ram, 1/10 of an ephah with each of the 7 lambs. Include one male goat for sin offering. Of course, we don't have to do that. All praises to Hamashiach Yahushua. On the 15th day of the 7th month, you are to hold a sacred assembly. You must not do any regular work, and you shall observe a feast for Yahweh for 7 days. As a pleasing aroma to Yahweh, you are to present an offering made by fire, a burnt offering of 13 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs, a year old, all unblemished, along with the grain offering, 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with oil with each of the 13 bulls, 2/10 of an ephah with each of the 2 rams, and 1/10 of an ephah with each of the 14 lambs. Include one male goat as a sin offering, which we don't have to do. All praises to Hamashiach Yahushua. In addition to the regular burnt offering with its grain and drink offering. On the 2nd day, you are to present 12 young bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs, a year old, all unblemished, along with the grain and drink offering for the bulls, rams, and lambs according to the number prescribed. Include one male goat as a sin offering. We don't have to do that. All praises to Hamashiach Yahushua. On the 3rd day, you are to present 11 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs, a year old, all unblemished, along with the grain and drink offering, for the bulls, rams, and lambs according to the number prescribed. Include one male goat as a sin offering. All praises to the Hamashiach Yahushua. On the 4th day, you are to present 10 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs, a year old, all unblemished, along with the grain and drink offering for the bulls, rams, and lambs according to the number prescribed. Include one male goat as a sin offering. All praise to Hamashiach Yahushua. On the 5th day, you are to present 9 bulls, Salathia, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs, a year old, all unblemished, along with the grain and drink offering for the bulls, rams, and lambs according to the number prescribed. Include one male lamb or one male goat as a sin offering. All praises to Hamashiach, Yahushua. On the sixth day, you are to present 8 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs, all a year old, all unblemished, along with the grain and drink offerings for the bulls, rams, and lambs according to the number prescribed. Include one male goat. Oh, hallelujah, hallelujah, Yahweh, Bahashem Hamashiach, Yahushua, Uvein Barakata Ruach Kodeshecha. On the 7th day, you are to present 7 bulls, 2 rams, and 14 male lambs a year old, all unblemished, along with the grain and drink offering for the bulls, the rams, and the lambs according to the numbers prescribed. Include one male goat as a sin offering. Hallelujah, Yahweh, Bahashem Hamashiach, Yahushua. On the 8th day, you are to hold a solemn assembly. You must not do any regular work. As a pleasing aroma to Yahweh, you are to present an offering made by fire, a burnt offering of 1 bull, no matter where you are, of 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 male lambs, a year old, all unblemished, along with the grain and drink offering for the bulls, rams, and lambs according to the number prescribed. Include 1 male goat as a sin offering. Hallelujah, Yahweh, Bahashem Hamashiach, Yahushua, Uvein Barakata Ruach Kodeshecha. You are to present these offerings to Yahweh at your appointed times in addition to your vow and free will offerings, whether burnt offerings, grain offerings, drink offerings, or peace offerings. Whatever you bring to the Father as a sacrifice. So Moshe spoke all these to the Israelites just as Yahweh has commanded him. And I just gotta highlight his name one more time. So Moshe spoke all this to the Israelites just as Yahweh had commanded him. Moshe, hello, Acha, Salathia, Benaiah, Yeshtarel, kind of, Chachal, or Chachol, Asherah, Sisra, Yahweh, yeah. Moshe. Alright, just wanted to clear up anything that, because we're entering some super holy days that's coming up. And hopefully this brought a little bit of clarity to individuals that was looking for the reasons as to why we have the Feast of Trumpets. It's not Rosh Hashanah. It's not the New Year. It's a new planting season. So it's a restart. You're gathering ripe fruits, and then you're going to till your fields and you're going to plant new seeds. All right. With all of that being said, most definitely, Shabbat Shalom, Mishpacha. Shabbat Shalom, Alaikum Mishpacha. Peace be unto you. Stay prayed up and come back to the Father. He misses you.